Hello everyone, welcome to Creatively Crafty Me. I am Charlena, and today I just want to show y'all a few of my finished objects. Firstly, I'm going to start with this sweater that I am wearing. I did make this sweater myself using the yarn that I received from the Mystery Yarn Challenge for September, hosted by Lori of the Armchair Chef. I had received a cake of this cookie yarn. I have received a cake of this cookie yarn. I received this impeccable yarn. This cookie yarn is a yarn that I use to do. I use this cake of cookie yarn to make my sleeves, as well as some of the stripes that's in my sweater. And I received this impeccable yarn in this pretty shade of blue, and I honestly only used it for one stripe. I just used one stripe in here for that yarn, of this yarn. And then I also received this beige, this cream color. What color is this? Yeah, this cream shade of I Love This Yarn from Hobby Lobby, and I only used this yarn on the edges of the sleeves. And then I also received, and this is really I had two small balls like this, but this is honestly the majority of the yarn that I have left, and this was a Lion brand Pound of Love in the shade brown. Yes, I used that yarn to make this sweater here, and it's kind of long and it has a couple of splits on the side, but I think it's cute. I really like it, so I figured I would wear this sweater in this video while I showed y'all a couple of the other things that I made. And then let's just move on to the next project. So as most of y'all know, I do receive the Crochet Society box. My last box that I received from the Crochet Society, I didn't make anything from that box as of yet, but the box before that, I did make this cute little sea turtle. I think he is adorable. I actually filled mine with some rocks, so there's cushion inside my shell as well as rocks, because I wanted him to be kind of weighted so that he can just, you know, hold some stuff down and sit on the shelf and not really move. So this is my project that I made with the Crochet Society box. I'm not even sure what the number is, but yeah, so that's him. This is my cute little turtle. I think he's adorable. So I made that. And then on to a couple of the other projects that I made. I have another project that I worked on that I did show in a previous video was this cowl. This is the Playtime cowl, the single loop. This was a pattern that from Nitty Natty. She has a channel here on YouTube, and I purchased this pattern on Ravelry, and I really liked it. So I decided that I wanted to make another one, but I wanted to do the double loop version. And I'm not completely 100% finished, but it is basically finished. All I have to do is weave in my ends here on the end. I actually made this yarn, this cowl from yarn that I received in my Hobby or Hobby Advent box from last year, however you want to say it. But yeah, so it's really pretty. I used this string here. I don't actually even know what it was called, but this is what I have left. So I did receive a couple of did I receive more than one? I think I received two of these. I think I received two of this thread, and it has a sequins on it. I don't know if you can really see that, if you can see the sequins. Yeah, there you go. So you can see the sequins, and it's like a thin string, and I mixed it with the yarn that also came in the Hobby box, that Advent box, and I received both of these together in my Advent box last year, and I decided I wanted to use that to make this Playtime cowl, the double loop, so you can put it on and you can wrap it around. And yeah, I really think these are so cute. along with the single loop playtime cowl and the double loop playtime cowl, she also has a pattern for a playtime shawl. And I purchased all three patterns, and I want to say it was about $9 for all three patterns. But yeah, so I really like how this looks. So I'm going to weave in my end, and this project will be basically complete. Yeah, so I made that. So I have my playtime cowl double loop and my playtime cowl single loop, and then on to some other projects that I've worked on. So I decided I wanted to try to knit again, and I made this very basic knitted blanket. It does have a border kind of built into the process of making the blanket. I just followed someone here on YouTube. I will link that video down below that I used to follow it. And this is actually made with I Love This yarn from Hobby Lobby. I will include the colorway, but because I don't remember what it is. And I did just use maybe about two and a half skeins of that yarn to make this blanket. It's not super huge. It's really not that big, but I thought it would make a nice like stroller blanket, or a blanket she could just, you know, put over her when she's carrying a baby. And yeah, so I have this knitted blanket. This blanket I actually ended up making twice. So I made it the first time, and somewhere I went completely wrong, and instead of it being a square, it ended up kind of having the shape of like a slice of bread or something. So I ended up ripping it back, taking it out, and redoing it again. And yeah, so I have this. This is how it turned out. I'm really pleased with it, because I honestly have not knitted anything in a very long time. Even though the first thing I learned to do was knitting, I have taken to crocheting so much more, and knitting takes me longer. I don't know. But I wanted to get back into knitting, so here it goes. I knitted this blanket for my daughter to use for my granddaughter. And yeah, so I really like this blanket, and it's so comfy. It's like kind of squishy and cozy, so I really like that. Yeah, so that is one thing I knitted. I also knitted a little dress. I don't have the dress with me, and I'm going to knit a few more projects because I do want to really get back into it. I did really enjoy making both the dress and the blanket, and I made mistakes in both, and I was actually able to go back and correct my mistakes, so I feel like real proud. So moving on from that, we're going to move on to another form of fiber art, and I have decided that I want to learn how to also Tunisian crochet. So I have this blanket here that I made following TL Yarn Craft. She actually has a pattern, and I just went on and purchased an entire kit when I saw her, because I love TL Yarn Craft. I was watching her video, and I just fell in love with the blanket, and I was like, oh, I want that blanket. I want to make that blanket, and I want to make it in the exact colors that she used. But I don't actually know if this is exactly the colors that she used. In her video, she used a different one. And even though I purchased the pattern, I never downloaded the pattern. I literally just followed her video to make this blanket. So yeah. Oh, and let me show y'all the yarn. So I do plan on making a third blanket, and I know I only showed you one so far, but I have this particular yarn here because I want to make a third one. But this blanket is made using the Mandala cakes, and I'm not really sure what color this is because I don't have the label anymore, but I will include it. And this blanket is made using this Mandala yarn. This is a different colorway from this one. This particular colorway is Joy. I not really sure what this colorway was, but I will include it when I look it up. And also using Lion Brand Basic Stitch. No, Lion Brand Basic. Yeah, Lion Brand Basic Stitch. No, I think it's Premier. So it was this and a basic stitch yarn, but I did not like, even though I finished it with that white yarn, that particular basic yarn, I did not like it. So the next blanket that I made, I used a different yarn. All right, so I have this one, and I have another one that I'm working on, but I have not completed yet. I'm currently in the process of making a second one. I'm up to the border. But I have not added the border yet. But yeah, this is the second one that I'm working on. And instead of using the basic stitch yarn, I decided to switch mine over to this mainstay yarn from Walmart. This yarn actually glides over this hook so much better. That mainstay yarn, that basic stitch yarn just kind of like stuck to the hook and didn't glide, and it was a struggle and it was annoying. And outside of using that basic stitch yarn, I loved everything else about making this blanket, which is why I decided I wanted to make a second one. I also don't know what color this yarn is, but I will include it. And I decided that I was just going to use a basic white yarn. I have to say, this yarn is so nice. I really love the feel of this yarn. This Mandala Ombre yarn. I'm going to try to use this yarn to make some other projects as well, because I really, really, really like this yarn. So this is the current project that I am working on. I am going to complete my little second Tunisian stitch blanket. This is actually just made using a Tunisian basic stitch, but it's really pretty. It's really fun to work up. So that is why I have made two so far, and I actually plan on making a third one because I do like that blanket. Okay, so on to some other things that I've worked on. I had some yarn that I just really wanted to get rid of, and someone wanted a blanket, so I made a simple granny square blanket. That's it. Just very simple. This is actually some older yarn. Like this brand that's not even around anymore probably. I don't even know what they are. But I just had this darker pink and this particular pink, and yeah, I just decided I was just going to make a basic granny square blanket, and I put a nice little scalloped border around it. Yeah. The fact about this blanket though, I actually had made this blanket maybe 2 or 3 rows wider, and when I was putting a scallop border on, I got maybe like 5 scallops from the end and ran out of yarn. So I had to rip it back, and I ripped it back up maybe about 2 rows so that I could be sure to have enough yarn to finish it. So yeah, so I have this. This is just a basic granny square blanket with a nice little scalloped border and 2 shades of pink. But yeah, that's it. It was just some old hanks of yarn, old skeins of yarn that I had, and I was like, might as well use it and do something with it. And then the next thing I have is this shawl. I actually call it my Encanto shawl because of the colors. I actually really like the colors. Yeah, I actually really like the colors. This is it was a crochet along with, I can't think of what channel she had. She had you know, pretty much just told you how to do the scalloped And I just went with it and used my whatever colors I wanted to use. And this is made with a Lion Brand Wool Ease yarn, I believe. I think it was Lion Brand Wool Ease. Yeah, so I just thought it would be something nice to have to, you know, toss around yourself, even if you wanted to bundle up in it, or if you just want to cover your shoulders with it. And it's nice and big. It's nice and big, so yeah. So that is my Encanto shawl. I just think the colors are really, really pretty. So yeah, that is that. And you can see the colors. So I used a green, a blue, a yellow, and like this coral. And I kind of just mimicked it on both sides. So if I had the green and the blue, it's the same on this side. The green and the blue, then the green and the yellow. Yeah. Actually, it's not even. Green, blue, green, yellow, green, orange, green, blue, green, yellow, green, orange. Actually, I just did it like that. Green, blue, I just built on it. Green, blue, green, yellow, green, coral. Then I went back to the green, blue, green, yellow, green, coral, green, blue. And then I ended with the green because I actually had run out of the yellow. I didn't have any more of the yellow, so I swear I stopped. So that's that. And yes, that is my Encanto little shawl. Then I also made this basic baby sweater. It's just a basic double crochet yoke and double crochet body, as well as the double crochet sleeves. And then I did a front loop, back loop, double crochet on the sleeves, as well as on the bottom. So it's just a very basic sweater. And I did a couple of single crochets around the edge and around the neckline. I did not add any of the single crochets at the base. But yeah, this is a very basic baby sweater. I made this sweater using the basic Red Heart Super Saver yarn. And I think this is just, yeah, I made this sweater using the basic Red Heart Super Saver yarn in the color light blue. And along with the sweater, I made 2 different size hats, and they're just basic beanies as well. Basic beanies made with the same yarn. You know, double crochet each row, and then the front loop, back loop for the border. And I made it in 2 different sizes. Yes. I do intend on adding some snaps to this. I actually do have the snaps to snap it closed. So I actually do have the snaps. I just have not sewn the snaps on yet, but it would just be a basic snap closure sweater. And yeah, that's it. Just a very basic double crochet yoke and body and sleeves. So I have one more thing to show y'all, and this was, I'm not going to call it a fail. I'm not going to call it a fail, but I definitely have to do better. But I wanted to try to make a blanket on my knitting machine. And I did my best, but I didn't do well. Firstly, so this is the blanket that I made on my knitting machine. So I used some yarn that I showed in one of my previous haul videos, and I thought I loved the yarn when I purchased it. In the skein, the yarn was pretty to me. In the skein, it was pretty. Worked up, I don't actually love it. And none of the patterns that it actually worked up in, I just don't love the yarn. It's not a pretty yarn. But that's not what the problem is with. That's not where the problem lies with the blanket. The problem with the blanket lies with the fact that I didn't know what I was doing. So I made several tubes. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tubes, as you can see. And I did sew them together. Now, sewing them together was beautiful. Look at that. It's like seamless. I love that about the knitting machine. When you seam them together, you can't even tell that I sewed these panels together. That looks really good. I used, I think, what is called a mattress stitch to sew it together, and it's flawless. My problem with this blanket was the edging. Mistake number one, I closed all my tubes before trying to sew them together, so that when I sewed them together, they were not the same length. So I had to take the edging out and try to seam it. It was a mess, but I got it together. So, and then I just added a basic border on it, and then a basic like chain 3, like, you know, chain 3 single crochet, chain 3 single crochet, and it is so uneven. It's so uneven. It's so lopsided. It's not straight, but it's done. It's done, and I'm proud of the fact that I did it. And I will make another one, but I finished this and I wasn't going to discard it. I figured if nothing else, then my granddaughter could use it to play with her dolls. But yeah, this blanket this blanket is a mess. But I'm still proud of the fact that I was able to actually complete a blanket on the knitting machine and get it together. So I will try this again. I will try to use my knitting machine again to make a blanket, and hopefully it will come out better than this one did. Look at that. You can see how wavy my edges are. All uneven. Look at that. Can't even fold it, make it even. Okay guys, so that is it for now. Thank you so much for joining me. Do come back, stick around, see what else I have going on, and I will talk to y'all in the next video. Okay, bye.